ministry and being helped by VSR, and just the availability of bus and taxis during or after hours. That was in line the questions, and then I'll make the opportunity if there are any questions after the minister answers, or if the answer is not exactly what I sought, for clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
The questions received reflect both concerns and the interest of this Parliament to ensuring transparency, accountability, and effective regulations within our transportation sector. As Minister of Transportation, I wish to state that at the outset that my ministry is currently in the process of updating and refining the policy and regulatory framework that governs public transportation in St. Martin. This work is ongoing and is being approached with diligence as we aim to create a robust, fair, and future-oriented system that addresses long-standing issues while adapting to the overall or the evolving needs of our people and visitors. However, I must respectfully indicate that several matters raised in the questions are directly related to policies that are still under internal review, and most importantly require stakeholder engagement and public consultation before being finalized or made public. Premature disclosure or definitive positions can at this stage or could jeopardize the integrity of that consultative process. So therefore, I will do my utmost through you, Madam Chair Lady, to provide responses where appropriate, and I kindly ask the MPs to understand that not all questions can be answered in full details at this time. This is not out of reluctance, but rather out of respect for the need to encourage our stakeholders, or to engage our stakeholders, including Taxi and Bus Association, SZV, and relevant ministries, and the general public in a transparent and inclusive manner before final decisions are communicated. With that framework in mind, I now proceed to address the questions that can be answered at this stage and will clearly indicate where policy discussions are still ongoing. Question 1. How many bus and taxi licenses has been approved in 2025 and how many remain uncollected? As of this time in 2025, no new taxi or bus licenses have been approved. The ministry continues to evaluate the current transportation landscape, including supply and demand, to ensure that any future licensing aligns with broader mobility, safety, and economic development goals. Therefore, no license remain uncollected for the period referenced in the question. What measures does the minister plan to implement regarding the previous minister's policies aimed at limiting the rental of the permit and revoking of uncollected licenses? The ministry is reviewing current policies on permit rentals and uncollected licenses. While the 2023 moratorium policy prohibits leasing, it lacks clear enforcement measures. We are working to strengthen our framework to ensure fair and accountable practices moving forward. What steps does the ministry intend to take to address the issue of unregistered or unauthorized gypsy drivers? The ministry is conducting a comprehensive review of all active and dormant transport permits to better regulate the sector. We recognize that unauthorized operators often arise in underserved areas, and we are working to strengthen public transportation while addressing illegal operations through improved enforcement and policy updates. After obtaining the government-issued permit, who is responsible for determining which taxi drivers are permitted to operate at key locations such as the harbor and the airport? The minister does not determine which taxi drivers operate at specific locations such as the harbor or the airport. Permit holders have the freedom to choose where and when they operate, provided their activities comply with a legal regulatory framework. Please provide the role of the association, and does the government have any say in how the association is structured or operated? Associations primarily act as a liaison between the government on industry matters. However, they do not represent all permit holders, who are free to choose how they associate. The government does not intervene in how associations are structured or operate, respecting their independence. What progress has been made to ensure that the bus and taxi drivers receive insurance coverage from SZV? This matter is still under discussion and deliberation, and given that we are currently busy reviewing the relevant policy, this issue is actively being taken into consideration. As such, we are not able to comment on details at this time. Question 7. The prepaid ticket system for rides to Mullet Bay appears to limit competition by restricting return trips to taxis affiliated with specific associations. What steps will the ministry take to ensure fair opportunities for all taxi operators? The ministry is in process of addressing concerns about limited competition by developing a centralized taxi application, ensuring equal access to service requests for all licensed operators, regardless of association. This initiative aims to promote fairness, transparency, and accountability in the sector. Does the ministry have plans to organize an island knowledge course for taxi drivers? Yes, we have plans to develop a certification program for all permit holders and drivers, including an island knowledge course. The training will cover topics such as first aid, customer service, safe driving, road safety regulations, and how to effectively promote St. Martin and its rich culture to visitors. Question 9. Public buses are not available at 7 p.m. Does the ministry have plans to address this issue? Yes. The ministry is reviewing public bus schedules as part of the broader transport sector. Extending service hours beyond 7 p.m. is under consideration, with attention to safety, feasibility, surveillance, and operational challenges such as cash handling and nighttime security. Question 10. On March 26, 2025, an elderly passenger was injured on the bus but could not identify the driver. Will the ministry implement a policy requiring public transport vehicles to visibly display their driver's name, photograph, fare, tariffs, license plate number upon entering the vehicle, for instance on the dashboard screen or place card, or for identification or complaint purposes? We are revising policies to improve service delivery and ensure transparency and accountability. Measures to display the driver's name, photograph, fare, tariffs, and license plate are being considered as part of our commitment to safe, efficient public transportation. Can you elaborate on the role of the Taxi and Bus Association as well as the laws governing their operations? As mentioned, the government does not intervene in how associations organize. They are key stakeholders in raising concerns and advocating for their industry changes. Question 12. In accordance with Article 20 of the Constitution, the government is responsible for job creation. What plans does the minister have in this regard? Our plans are dedicated to job creation and the promotion of entrepreneurship through a multifaceted strategy that strengthens traditional sectors such as local agriculture, maritime and yachting, and technology innovative industries, as well as advancing small business development into collaboration with the SEDC. We are engaging key stakeholders to reduce import dependency, stimulate sustainable local employment, and boost our industry's base. Furthermore, we will soon announce a new program featuring initiatives designed or designated to simplify the process of doing business on the island, thereby ensuring a resilient, inclusive, and thriving economic future for all citizens. How many taxi dispatchers are currently operating? There are currently 8 taxi dispatchers operating, 7 dispatchers are functioning, and 1 is on medical leave. How many complaints has the minister received regarding taxi drivers and the way the work is being dispatched? As of April 2025, 8 formal complaints have been received by the taxi dispatching section. This include 6 complaints from the taxi dispatchers themselves against drivers, mainly concerning overcharging, refusal of jobs, and inappropriate conduct with guests. And then 2 complaints from the taxi drivers against the dispatchers. All complaints are being documented and reviewed following established procedures to ensure a fair and transparent resolution. Why are certain association members at the harbor reportedly prioritizing their own vehicle by securing full tourist groups for tours while assigning others to shorter trips? While the government does not regulate the internal operations of taxi association, including how tours are assigned, we understand the concerns regarding fairness. It's important for associations to operate transparently to maintain trust among members. If there are issues of preferential treatment, these should be addressed through the association's leadership or brought to the attention of the appropriate oversight authorities. However, we are taking matters like these into consideration and as we revamp the policy to ensure greater fairness and transparency in the industry. Question 16. Currently, aside from the road tax, the government does not collect additional fees from licensed taxis and bus operators. Does the minister plan to introduce a fee system similar to vending licenses for public transportation? At this time, the ministry is not actively pursuing the introduction of an annual fee system for licensed taxis and bus operators. While the idea is something that could be considered in the broader context to improving the public transportation regulation and oversight, it is not a priority at the moment. Our current focus remains on supporting the sector and addressing pressing issues such as fare adjustments and ensuring that operators are able to continue providing an essential service to the community. Any future consideration would be done carefully with full dialogue and engagement with stakeholders.
Yes, I will start preparing for the hurricane season. Talk to us about one of the topics would be tropical storm development.
Info session on hurricane preparedness. And we have a long list of topics to be covered. And as you pointed out, one of the topics is tropical storm development, and which is delivered by the St. Martin Meteorological Department. So in this particular session, what really happens is that persons become familiar with the terminology, with the development, with the different categorization of the storms. And I must say that, oftentimes people might say, well, learning about storms can be so dull and dry, but persons who are like paying really keen attention, asking questions, and to the point where even though the sessions are only about 20-30 minutes, based on the feedback we got, that they wanted the session to be even more, you see. So of course that was a great highlight, especially for the presenter, to try and provide as much information as possible. As you can imagine, when it comes to tropical storm development, there's so much information out there, and oftentimes person can either become a bit confused or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You see, and that's
And then they have to talk about, because sometimes we get notices on our phone and it's fake news.
there you go.
Because it is storm coming
There
and
you go.
nothing
There you
power
go.
goes so as
There,
we
there
say.
you go. And that's something that came out very strong in the presentation too. When it comes to the information, persons were encouraged to just visit or listen to the announcement from the Met Office or from
Yes.
trusted sources. You see, because one of the something that happened back in 2017 was that persons was consuming so much information from so many different sources that we can say that they became traumatized even before
Yes.
the arrival of Hurricane Irma. So in order to prevent that, they were kindly asked to just, follow one particular source of information and of course make the necessary
Reliable
preparations.
source.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to have a session, there's always a session about first aid and
Yes.
CPR.
That's correct.
Let's talk about that.
Well-
why are you constantly talking about that?
Well,
Why is
we-
that always an important topic to talk about?
because an emergency can happen anytime, right? And oftentimes, unfortunately, a situation which could have been managed or to reduce the impact of the emergency, so to say, could have been addressed had the person been equipped in order to adequately respond. Of course, when you are dealing in a hurricane situation, but even at home, you could be with your loved one and then they just collapse. Some people would just freeze, some people would just run, some people would respond. So we really want to equip persons in our community with those basic skills so that they can respond. And let me also add, the sessions initially, we try to reach out to NGOs, community councils, churches, community leaders. Why? Because they have a very far reach in the community. So they're always in contact with their membership, with the different communities that they serve. So the idea would be to transfer the information that they receive during these sessions directly to, right? Thereby that expands the capacity of persons who are able to respond. Now, I'm not saying do not do the course, right? I'm not saying do not become certified, right? But I am saying that this should just basically whet your appetite to want to do more in your community. Because many a times we've heard of situations where somebody collapsed, and again, the situation got worse, but no one know how to respond. Of course, you would hear complaints about the ambulance taking too long, this one taking too long, and I'm saying, had you been in possession of those skills, you would have been able to possibly save a life. So I cannot stress enough how important first aid CPR is.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun. The majestic brown pelican, our national symbol. The radiant yellow sage, our national flower. The historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides. Our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports. Renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity. Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping. Cruises, boating, and yachting. Twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation. Splendid and scenic accommodations. Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
Tuesday morning 2025. You ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, read it. Bye. What is it now? Hey, somebody say you will. DJ,